Okay, this is chapter 8. Going to talk about stocks, right? A common stock, you are owner of a corporation, right? If you buy a share of stock of Apple, you are co-owner of Apple. Now, you're going to own a very small percentage if you only own one share of stock, right? Apple has more than 5 billion shares of stock outstanding. So you're going to own one out of 5 billion, but you're still part owner, right? Now, what determines the fact that the price of the stock goes up? Well, many things, right? The value of the profitability and growth potential, that's a very important one, right? Current interest rates. Well, if interest rates are low, prices of stocks are going to go up. That's what we're seeing right now in 2016. The market conditions. If market conditions are favorable, the prices of stocks tend to go up. If market conditions are not favorable, we will see something really bad. Now, we do this through stock markets, right? The New York Stock Exchange, for example. We've talked about secondary markets before. It is important to have secondary markets. We have liquidity. If we buy a stock, we can sell it whenever we want, basically. Especially if it's a large corporation, we can go to the market and sell our stock whenever we want, right? And it's easy to find someone that is willing to either buy or sell if we just go to the stock market, right? There's plenty of participants there, right? Main markets. New York Stock Exchange, that's the largest, most famous ones, right? Most of them larger corporations or well-known corporations trade at the New York Stock Exchange. So have the American Stock Exchange, the Nasdaq, FTSE in London, the Nikkei in Tokyo. Now, a lot of times we want to know how is the market doing. Well, in order for us to answer that question, we refer to stock market indexes. For example, the Dow Jones Index, that's a very famous one. If you go to the news, most of the times they're gonna show that, and they were gonna say that the market is doing this or that based on that index. Well, the Dow Jones tracks the performance of 30 corporations, right? I don't know, J.P. Morgan, McDonald's, Johnson and Johnson, AT&T, very very large corporations, right? Uh, and based on the way these 30 stocks move, the index will move, right? Think of it as the average. If on average all of the stocks go up by 5%, the index is going to go up by 5%. Now, I'm oversimplifying it, but that's kind of like the way it works, right? S&P 500, something similar, but instead of using 30 stocks, we use 500 stocks, right? A lot of people prefer the S&P 500 to the Dow Jones because it's more comprehensive. We have more stocks, and we can do a better job with 500 stocks as opposed to 30 stocks. The Nasdaq, on the other hand, it tracks technology firms, right? The Nasdaq is a special stock exchange based on smaller stocks, right? Now, if we're gonna buy, there's always gonna be two prices that are quoted: bid price and ask price. One of them is cheaper, one of them is more expensive. Think of this as if you are going abroad. For those of you that have been to another country and want to buy foreign currency, there will always be two prices. Same with stocks: cheap one and expensive one. If you want to buy foreign currency, if you want to buy a stock, you're going to pay the expensive price. If you want to sell foreign currency or you want to sell your stock, you're going to pay. They're going to pay you the cheaper price. That's the way it works. We have brokers that are taking risks, right? So since they're taking risks, they need to have this difference between bid and ask. Bid is the price at which they're going to buy from you. Ask is the price at which you're going to be paying, right? Now, let's talk about how to find prices of stocks, right? Um, Here, we're also going to be using present values. And in the second part of this chapter, we're going to be working on examples. Right now, I'm just going to go over the theory. And we're going to be calculating present value. Now, bonds, we know they're called fixed income, right? Because we know how much are we going to be receiving. Uh, in stocks, on the other hand, it is a little bit more uncertain. We don't know about the dividends. We expect to receive dividends, but that is not for sure. And we don't know how much it's going to be or what's going to be our future selling price. Now, this is the very basic principle, right? If we buy and hold a stock for 1 year, we should expect to receive two different payments from the stock. One of them is a dividend. We expect to receive a dividend, which is basically a payment that the corporation makes to the stockholders as part of their compensation, right? Some stocks pay dividends, some pay a lot of dividends, some pay no dividends. It all depends on the type of stock. But dividend is one of the compensations, and the other one is the price, right? You're going to sell your stock in 1 year. You have an idea on how much are you going to be selling it for. So you're going to be receiving two cash flows in 1 year: the dividend and whatever you pay for the stock. Going back to the previous slide, there is also an interest rate. Don't forget, you're taking risks. We need to be compensated for that. Common stock is the riskiest asset, the riskiest financial asset. If you're a common stockholder, you're a residual claimant. You get whatever's left after everyone else has been paid. If the firm goes bankrupt, you're the last one to get anything, if there's anything left. You're taking a lot of risk. Now, if you're taking a lot of risk, why would people buy common stock? Well, because you're also getting a lot of return. That's the attractive thing about common stocks. You will invest in common stocks since you want to make a very high return, right? So, this is the very, very simple present value formula. This is the amount of money we're receiving in 1 year. It's split in two parts, but if we add them up, it's the amount of money we're receiving in 1 year, and then we divide by 1 plus the interest rate because that's the present value. If we're doing this for 2 years, the formula is going to change a little bit. Well, we're going to be receiving dividends every year, right? So at the end of year 1, we receive our dividend. At the end of year 2, we receive another dividend, and then we receive the price of the stock. We want to know the price today, right? Same, the formula is very, very similar, right? The first term right here is the present value of the dividend that we receive in 1 year, the present value for 1 year. The second term right here is the dividend you receive in year 2 plus the price of the stock divided by 1 plus the interest rate squared, right? We're going to work on problems in the second part of the video. And again, we can buy and hold stocks for as long as we want, right? We can have n terms, and it's going to